If you build it, they will come. Yeah, right. Fellow coders, if you're full of amazing ideas and have created amazing products but can't seem to get them off the ground, welcome. This is the Coders Startup, the show where smart programmers come to learn what it really takes to create, market, and sell a brand new product, and most of all, make it profitable. Now here's your host, successful software entrepreneur, Trevor Page.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coders Startup. This is episode number 5, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I know out there in the podcast land, you have your choice of podcasts, and we appreciate you choosing this one. As always, I'm joined by my right-hand man, Carter the Marketer Johnson. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I don't really see anything to talk about in terms of pleasantries and idle chit-chat. I suppose we might as well just launch into the good stuff for this show. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. So I guess we've talked a little bit about, how to start a business in terms of ideas, how to generate ideas, or how to pick an idea from a bunch of ideas that you may or may not have. We've talked about the importance, and I keep emphasizing this, the importance of building an email list early on, and how it may seem like it's not going to be a fruitful effort, or it might not be something that you should be putting your eggs into in terms of a basket. But trust me, ladies and gentlemen, that's where you want to be putting your eggs. Building an email list is critical. In any case, that's sort of a little review about what we actually used to talk about. But now, today, I want to talk about probably a question that's burning in your mind. It's how do you actually charge money online and actually receive money from the strange interwebs? Because I know that was a big question for me when I started. I knew how to build products. I had a very basic idea of how to market them, how to talk about them, and try to get customers. But how do you actually receive money? There's all these confusing things out there, like if you're in programming land, you're thinking about maybe SSL certificates. How the heck am I going to set up an SSL certificate? How expensive are those? How much is this going to cost me to actually be able to charge people money? Is it easy to set up through my bank account? Like, all these things were running through my mind, and I didn't have anybody who actually sort of laid out the path for me. So you guys are lucky that you have this duo here to lay it out in front of you. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, so stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. So I don't know, where do you want to start, Carter? Let's I guess we can start with the basic accepting payment methods like Stripe.
Let's talk about just your basic way to go about it, because I remember this was a question I had for a while as well when I was getting started. Just how do you go about accepting these charges? How do you actually charge people money and create the transaction, especially if you're doing more of the software or selling stuff online and it's not in person? Let's tee it off.
So the first and foremost, the thing that the application that I found, the piece of software that really solved the problem for me, I'm just going to lay it out there for you. It's called Stripe. Okay, STRIPE. Stripe, like a stripe on your car. Clearly that makes cars go faster. So stripe.com. If you're one of the lucky people who live in either Canada, the US, or the UK, then you are eligible to use Stripe. Now, Stripe is it's a payment platform system that you can use and integrate within your application to be able to accept payments. And not just any payments. You can do one-off payments. You can do recurring payments. You can store credit cards inside of the system. You can send invoices. You can do a whole bunch of things. You can set up trials. So if you have like a product where maybe it's a monthly product, but you give a 30-day or a 7-day trial, you can do that. And tons of other features that I'm sure you will find very, very useful. And that's all available on stripe.com. Now, the sort of downside or upside, depending on how you look at it, of using Stripe is that there's no real front end to the Stripe code. It's great for handling credit card payments and whatnot, but There's no front end. So you need to do all the coding yourself. Now, obviously, if you are a coder, which you should be if you're listening to this podcast, because I'm going to assume that you are, then you're not really in that bad of a position. The only annoying part is that you need to actually take time out of your busy schedule to actually implement this code. But you can be very flexible with the code, and it's probably one of the most well-documented and what's the word I'm looking for, with lots of examples inside of it in terms of their API. So they have a wonderful API, and they actually break it down across a whole bunch of different programming languages. Let me bring it up on my PC right now, and I can give you an idea of the different programming languages that they support. So while I'm doing that, Carter, do you have anything to add?
While you're doing that, Trevor, I'll basically speak about my experience with Stripe, because I use it, but I use it in a different way that you use it, because so much of my business is the sales are completed over the phone or in person or something like that. It's more face-to-face, larger ticket item type transactions, and I still use Stripe, but the way I use it is I simply have the client give me their credit card information or something like that, just over the phone, and I type it in real quick. They get a confirmation email. If it's a reoccurring payment, every month they get a really nice invoice type of email that just has all the breakdown of what they were charged, what the service was for. You can put a logo up there. It's just a really, really clean system, and very easy to use, especially if it's the first time you are actually charging. And I think it's important to note an experience I had the first time I ever tried to accept credit cards. It was when I had my first company. It was a moving company, and I remember the process to set up just the ability to where we could actually receive the basic MasterCard and Visa credit cards. It wasn't even the American Express, the Discover, all those. It was just the basic credit cards, and it literally was like a 3-week process. There was a background check, there was a credit score check, there was a personal line that I had to actually insure. Then there was a PCI compliance test that I had to take. It was insane, all the stuff that I had to go through. And now, literally, you can sign up, and I would estimate in less than 5 minutes, you can be on your way as far as accepting credit cards, which is very cool.
Yeah, Stripe is amazing. Namely, in the PCI compliance, which is what you were talking about. I read about inside of the Stripes, you call it the copywriting, the actual words that they put on their website that tries to convince you to use their product. Inside of that copywriting, they were talking about PCI compliance and how much of a pain in the butt it is, because the onus is on you, the business, to meet and fulfill all these crazy requirements. I think one of which is SSL encryption and whatnot. So the beauty about using Stripe is SSL encryption is actually not mandatory. And it's not mandatory because they handle all the PCI compliance. They handle all the crazy nitty-gritty details around actually accepting payments. And they actually have a way to send the data across the interwebs in a way that's not only secure, but also it's tokenized. So they actually put some, encryption, you can call it, on the actual credit card information and sends it as a token, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details. You can read all about it, but it saves you a ton of time. So now you might be asking, well, this sounds like a very valuable piece of software. How much does it cost? And that's always the beautiful, horrid thing that you have to ask as a business owner is, how much am I going to be losing every month by using this thing? And what's incredible about Stripe is it's kind of like accepting any kinds of credit cards. There's no monthly cost. There's no recurring cost. You only pay per transaction. So you only pay when you make money. For Stripe, what I'm looking at right now, currently on their website, it's 2.9% per successful charge plus 30 cents. So 2.9% of the sale plus 30 cents for every successful charge. And that is pennies on the dollar for what value you're going to get out of this payment system, because it's going to save you, well, like you heard Carter say, at least 3 weeks of pain and misery. So
totally.
Very, very cool.
And, another important thing to note, this is just forward thinking, but that rate isn't a fixed rate, because once you start processing, volume and stuff like that and grow your business, you get the leverage that comes with that, and you can start negotiating that rate and stuff, which is something that we're doing right now in one of my companies.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know if I told you
No,
about that, but
clearly, see,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, Carter is what we refer to in the industry as a baller. So he's able to do these kinds of things and swing these kinds of deals. So good on you, Carter, for doing that. Didn't know you could do that.
Yes, sir.
I just want to flip back to a previous conversation I was having with you, the listener. I went and looked up the documentation to give you an idea of the programming languages they support out of the box. So they support Ruby, Python, PHP, Java, Node.js, and Go. So even they just recently added Go in there, and it just shows you how dedicated they are to easily supporting all of the most popular programming languages out there. Obviously, you could still use standard URL calls, whatever it's called, CURL calls, to interact with their framework. There's just no sort of library packages that you can use automatically that will obviously make your life a little bit easier. So you have to do a little bit more work on your end if you're not using one of those aforementioned programming languages, but it is still obviously possible because it's just a standard API using JSON and whatnot. So awesome stuff.
And can I talk about one more feature that
go.
just popped in my head?
By all means.
And this was a really big bonus and plus for me, and a reason why I process a lot more of my business through Stripe versus some of the other things that we'll talk about today. But they recently, and it was a few months ago, they changed it to where they actually release your transactions in 2 days versus the typical 7.
Oh, really? Did they do that?
Yeah.
Stripe did that?
So Stripe does it, yeah. So if you don't have it set up, you may have to opt into it.
Oh my God, I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, yes. and you can see how excited Trevor is. And I know you're probably thinking, well, it was 7 day, 2 day. But when you are running a business, when you got bills to pay and everything else, cash flow is a huge part of that. And you want to just get the money as quickly as possible deposited into your accounts. And on the flip side, you want as much lenient time as possible when you're releasing money. So that is a great feature that Stripe just unraveled a few months ago, and another reason why I'm a big fan of it.
A few months ago, where? Oh yeah, here you go. Transfer schedule, daily 7-day rolling basis. Change schedule to be daily,
2 day.
But I don't see any way to make it 2 days. Every day will be bank account 7 days later. The first Anyway, I'll look into that because I would love to change that, obviously, to be 2 days.
Yeah, mine is processed and it is in my account 2 days later, which is phenomenal.
Whereas right now, if I make a sale, I need to wait 7 days before it actually ends up in my bank account. Geez, I need to figure out how to do that. I hope that's not just a U.S. feature. Anyway, so now, if you are in a situation, so this was all good, great, and grand for me when I started off, because I was obviously a programmer. I knew how to interact with APIs, especially this one because it was so magnificent, lots of documentation, etc., etc. But now in my career as an entrepreneur, I am way too busy and way too active to actually put time and effort into building out yet another payment processing platform in another product. So if I'm releasing products every, let's say, 2 or 3 months, which is more or less how fast I'm going right now, that would be a huge pain in the butt to have to set that up every single time. So this is where another product comes into play that really saves me eons of time. Lots and lots of time, lots and lots of pain and anguish is obliterated by using this, and that's called Send Owl. Okay, strange name, but the word send, like you're sending email, the word owl, like the creature, if you want to call it a creature, the animal or a mammal or whatever it is. SendOwl allows you to integrate with Stripe as well as some other payment platforms in such a way that you can have essentially just a single URL. So a copy paste URL that you can give to your customers or link up as an Ahref to like a button or something like that on your HTML page, that when they click on it, it redirects them either to a pop-up or to a completely different page, which is the SendOwl page which actually just tells them, all right, what's your name, your address, your credit card number, and you can hit purchase, and then there you go. Everything's handled for you. So you don't have to write a single line of code. And this is just, like I said, such a huge time saver. You can set it up to sell products, like a single one-off product, like if you're selling an ebook or even a physical book, any physical product you can use this for as well. Or you can, if you're selling subscriptions, you can set up a subscription. They call them products. And so obviously on an ongoing basis, your customers will be charged, they'll be billed, they'll be invoiced if they fail to pay, which is a common issue that I'm running into right now. If they fail to pay, then they're going to get an email notification saying, hey, your credit card was not successfully charged. You better get on that and fix that. Otherwise, your subscription will cancel, and then you will be kicked out of the membership site or whatever it is that you're subscribed to. And there's a bunch of other options, too. I should probably just bring it up. But it's just an incredible time saver. And you can start it out for free. You can start out with a free version of that, but you'll most likely be wanting to eventually upgrade to one of their paid products. And this one, unfortunately, is monthly, but it is a huge time saver. So it's well worth the money. I think I pay upwards of $25 a month for this product, and like I said, it easily pays for itself within the first couple days of every month that I'm using it. So very, very useful stuff. Do you have any experience with SendOwl at all, Carter?
I do not. I've it's come up in conversation a few times, I think, between you and it's just been one of those things where I haven't really needed it yet for the things that we've done, as far as their main features. And another thing, just because, and I think I brought this up when you were showing it to me. My clients usually, there's not really a set price going in. A lot of times it fluctuates, where one client might be X amount per month and another is Y per month. And having that variation, I think the SendOut platform isn't really built for that type of processing. And that's where I use typically a PayPal or just manually enter the Stripe information.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, your mileage will obviously vary, but if you're in the typical situation where you have a product that you're charging the same amount of money for every month, or a single product that you charge the same amount for, then totally SendOwl will work for you. You can even set it up to be a variable price. So you can actually set, I think, a minimum price, and the people who pay for your product can either pay the minimum amount or however much else they want to pay, they can actually put it in. So that's kind of a neat feature too. And with this, you can also bundle your products together right through the interface inside of SendOwl. So that's pretty cool. Plus, there's reporting. You can set up coupon codes and so on and so forth. And it also integrates with other payment platforms like PayPal and Bitcoin. I forget what other ones, but it doesn't really matter. But it supports a lot of cool stuff. So it's just a ton of value for a very, very low price, in my opinion. So now we keep talking about all these products, and I haven't said how you can get access to them. At the bare minimum, you need Stripe at the bare minimum. So you just go to codersstartup.com/Stripe, and that will redirect you to the actual Stripe page where you can actually sign up for yourself. Obviously, same thing for SendOwl. You can go to coderstartup.com/SendOwl, and you can sign up for it there if you like as well. And it's very simple to set these things up. Very simple to link up your bank account information. All you need is your account number, your branch transfer number, and blah, blah. There's 3 numbers that you need.
Yeah, it's just the accounting and routing, I think.
Yeah, it's different in Canada.
Very
we call them
easy.
different things, but whatever.
Gotcha.
There's 3 numbers that you need to put in there, and then you're laughing. So super, super simple. You really can get set up so quickly and easily. It's awesome stuff.
That brings up another question that I hear a lot,
Go
Trevor.
for it.
And people are always asking, should I set up a different bank account when starting out? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think if you are finding it difficult, if it is a roadblock for you in such a way that it's causing you to not move forward because you're afraid of, how do I go about opening another bank account, and do I need to, actually start up a real company and incorporate it, or do some legal crap, then just, at the beginning, who cares? Just set it up so it's going into your own bank account. But maybe you probably would want to have some sort of an accountant, on call, just to be able to know that they would be able to manage those books for you, because obviously you need to make sure that the cash is flowing in the appropriate places. But I mean, I wouldn't want to hold anyone back from doing that. So I just say, pay yourself. Just put it into your own bank account for now and handle the details later.
Well, and that's what I tell people too, Trevor. I told my sister something very similar. She's a photographer, a wedding photographer, does great work. And she started asking me, should I start a bank account for my business, whatever. And I told her, yeah, it's probably time to do that. And, she had been in business for over a year at this point.
Oh, okay.
And, but still, she got so overwhelmed when she went into the bank, because they start, in the States, they start asking for things like an EIN and stuff like that. Because you go in and you say, I'd like to open up a business bank account.
Yep.
And they immediately slot you over to, okay, well, this, and this. And then a lot of times they enroll you into these monthly fees and stuff. So if anything, I would say if you do open up an account, sometimes I do just like online banking through Allied or one of those to set up an account that way. But I'm with you. I think when you're starting off, just get traction. Just start making some sales. And one thing that I still do to this day is on a monthly basis, I just comb through whatever bank account is linked to these, these Stripes or PayPals. And I look at what was deposited in, i.e. what was the actual revenue that was coming in. And then I also look at what was processed and taken out. And I just highlight all that, and it makes taxes at the end of the year a lot easier.
Nice. Beautiful. So there you go. Now, obviously, another thing you can do if you don't want to, deal with bank accounts, you could even just do business with a PayPal account, I think. I think that's how Carter and I got started with a company that we had founded back in 2013, maybe. I think we just had a PayPal account. I don't even know. Was it linked to a bank account at all, or?
We eventually, I think, linked it to an Ally or something. But
right, there you go. That's what we did. Yeah.
Yeah, got it started. And now PayPal is even more. I recently just ordered a debit card from PayPal, a
Really?
business debit card. So I can use it, anywhere I need to. I can type it in directly. And that's one thing, I guess transitioning from Stripe to PayPal, that's one side that I really, really like as far as PayPal goes. It is more like a bank account. It definitely has more of that feel to it.
Absolutely.
And kind of gives you more of a ledger balance that looks like a bank account.
Yeah. And I mean, it's what I go for is giving as many options as I can in terms of how my customers can pay. So this is a problem I'm running into right now with right now I only use Stripe with one of my products. And it's causing an issue because a lot of my customers, I teach programming online. I have an ebook product, and I have a video tutorials course on how to learn this programming language. But a lot of my customers come from overseas, and they don't have access to credit cards. They can't get a Visa or a MasterCard, and therefore they have no way to sign up for my course. So I'm losing out on sales because they don't have credit cards, and all I do is accept credit cards. So now that's why I'm transitioning over everything over to SendOwl, because SendOwl allows me the option of also providing the payment option of PayPal, where a lot of people overseas do use PayPal, and they can use PayPal, and that's advantageous to them.
Well,
so,
and to add on to that, and I'm not even sure if I've suggested this to you, but you should look into Skrill. Skrill is a company, because I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but at least the last I checked, people in India could not use PayPal. So I had a team of virtual assistants and stuff, and it was a pain to actually pay them because they couldn't use PayPal, and they were the ones who told me that Skrill was really big over here, and a lot of times if they're dealing with merchants in the States, they have to go through Skrill. So that is just another way of processing those, but it's another resource to have, especially if you're looking to do business over in the East, so to speak.
And that's certainly where a lot of my customers come from as well, is India. So that's an interesting one. I just went to Sendal to see if they link up with that, and they don't, but they do link up with something called authorize.net.
Okay.
Have you heard of that one before?
I have not.
Authorize.net.
Okay.
So
Very
anyway,
cool.
this is it's another payment processing platform. I'll look into that and see if they have any sort of stuff on billing overseas and whatnot. In any case, plenty of options out there, plenty of things you can use, and you shouldn't let that stop you from moving forward. That's the thing that we're going for here. What's the lesson that we're trying to teach, right? Now, I want to talk a little bit more about PayPal because we haven't really focused on PayPal. Can you give us an example of how you're using PayPal? Because like you said, you're not using like Sendal, you're using a lot in PayPal. How easy is it? How do you find it works for you in your business?
Love it. No complaints. I'm not sure about the processing fees, how they compare to Stripe, but it's definitely, it's really diverse in the sense that you can accept transactions in person if you're doing that with the options they have there. And it's just one of those things. I love it for paying bills, so I try to route everything through PayPal as another layer of security and just another way of paying for things. Because Trevor, you hit on such a huge point. You got to have diversity as far as ways to accept payments and as a form of backup. Because there have been times where, and this is a problem I never thought I would have, but there have been times where my account, I've had like a spike in transactions or processing or something like that, and it'll literally, it'll basically trigger an audit from like Stripe. Typically it's Stripe if that happens. And it's just when your transactions are out of your usual norm. So what they do is they freeze your account, make sure there's no fraud or anything like that going on. And again, you got to have accounts backups in place. So that doesn't happen often, but it's happened 2 times in my career of being an entrepreneur. One of the times it really, really messed us up cash flow wise. This was in the first business I started, the moving company, because we accepted a payment from a client, and our credit card company, it spiked our transactions so high just because it was a huge job, that they froze the account. We couldn't access it, and we really, really were cash crunched because we had payroll and all these other things.
Wow.
That were happening.
That's a good lesson to learn from and to be able to teach. That's wicked. I had no idea that Stripe would do that.
Yeah. So Stripe did it once, and again, before that was the credit card company that that it took 3 weeks to set up and everything else. So there's a lot. Things are a lot more friendly right now. E-commerce is a lot more popular, so you don't run into that problem just as much. But just another good tip to have: multiple ways of doing business.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, also I can bring up the baller status. Of course, Carter has run into a situation where he's making too much money that they actually had to audit him.
No, it hasn't happened often. But you've heard of that, haven't you, Trevor? Like,
yes,
I know Dane and Andy ran into that problem with the foundation.
Yeah. For sure. Dane and Andy were a different case, so I think they opened up this course called The Foundation, where they were teaching people how to launch a successful software business. And they went from probably making no money or losing money until one day when they launched the actual course, they opened up their payment platform, and they probably made $2-3 million in sales or whatever the heck it was all at once. So that's a very extreme, like that for sure looks fraudulent. So
Totally.
they ran into some big issues with that, even though they had prepared, I think, them for it. They said ahead of time had spoken with the bank or with whoever and said, look, we're going to be, hitting a lot of transactions on this date, so don't freeze our account. And they ended up getting frozen anyway. So yeah. So you can't avoid it.
It can definitely be a pain. So
now the other thing about PayPal, before we move on, is PayPal, like Carter had said, he ran into a situation where he has different clients paying him different amounts every month. So the recurring payments, but different amounts. So with PayPal, you can actually set up, I guess, individual, what do they call them? Payment buttons?
Subscriptions, I think.
Subscriptions,
subscriptions, something like that.
Yeah, you can go in and choose to set these up. It's a little bit convoluted a process, but there's definitely, good documentation on the PayPal website on how to do that. But you can actually set up a button, and it's completely free to do. And you can set up different subscription amounts, and you're able to email the URL to the people and just direct them there, and then they can go and sign up and start paying, dollar bills into your pocket for and how much it costs, because you asked that before and I looked it up. PayPal is identical to Stripe. It's 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. And it says here, or less, and I guess that's you can sort of haggle with them, perhaps if you have big transactions come in or something like that, or a lot of them, who knows. So same price, which is nice.
Definitely.
And no recurring fee for Stripe or for PayPal that I know of, unless you go to some sort of crazy merchant account, which I don't know the use case when you would do that. So
yeah, so that's, I know I think it's $30. For that.
Yeah,
but,
it's 30 or 35 a month.
And what that does is like your custom checkout pages and stuff. So that was what I was going to mention. The downside about PayPal is that typically you're taken to the standard looking PayPal checkout, which it's not a downside if you're trying to gain traction, because that's an authority that you can kind of piggyback on and just really
people are used to it.
What's that?
People are used to it. People, they trust it. They wouldn't have any issues going through that PayPal screen.
Exactly. But once you get a brand that's pretty well known and you have a good amount of customers, you want to have that slick look of integration that Stripe brings to the table.
Right. Exactly. And you said that is possible through PayPal, but you need to pay for $35 a month for their Pro plan.
That's the 35 plus, I think.
Yeah, or merchant plan. I forget what they call it. So
yeah.
PayPal is definitely a little bit more convoluted because they have a lot more, I guess, types of customers that they need to serve, whereas Stripe, their goal is to make it as easy as possible. And same with Send also.
Totally.
All right. So I'm not sure. I mean, is there anything else that we should touch on with respect to accepting payments online? I'm trying to think if there's any other lessons that I've learned or anything that I can bring up, but it looks like you have something to say, Carter, so go for it.
No, I was
pondering.
Thinking? I was pondering. I don't think so. I think really the big things are, get on board with those two payment processing systems and play around, and just, you'll find out it's a lot easier than what you think.
Yeah.
And it's a ton of fun the first time you get that notification email that you have a payment.
A new payment, yeah. And that's
it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, I just thought of with Stripe, what's nice about Stripe is they have this sort of playground sandbox environment, this test environment, that you can actually go and create as many transactions and charges and everything that you would want. You can create your own subscription plans. You can actually go and embed it onto your website, or not embed it, but code it into your website and actually type in credit card numbers. So they have like fake credit card numbers that you can actually use. You just type those in and you can actually hit the go button and submit the form, and you can actually go through what the customers will actually go through and see it in their, as if you were a real customer, see it through their eyeballs, how the process is like and what it's like and how it handles and all that stuff. So that's really cool, really slick with Stripe. And then at the click of a button, you can switch it over to live mode, and then you just need to switch up your secret keys that you have. They give you a secret key as well as a public key. So you switch those over to like the live mode, and then you're good to go. It's a seamless transition. It's as easy as that. So it's it's built to be as easy as possible, and I guess the word is as seamless as possible. So very, very cool stuff. So again, if you want to check those out, I would highly, highly recommend you check it out. Go to codersstartup.com/Stripe and codersstartup.com/sendowl. And maybe we'll do codersstartup.com/PayPal as well. Who knows? Depends on how we want to set this stuff up. But in any case, all of these links and all of this stuff will be available for you on the show notes page, which is available at codersstartup.com/5, the number 5. So I'll go to that show notes page and you'll see all the goodies that we talked about in this episode. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say as a parting note before we hit the stop button and go about the rest of our days here?
I don't think so. I think this was a good episode. It's definitely one of the building blocks. You got to have it in place. So I'm glad we went over it. If you're looking for more like marketing content, I'm going to be trying to roll out a little bit more on my blog. You can check that out at mcarterjohnson.com. I'll have Trevor put those in the show notes as well. But yeah, man, fun as always. Can't wait until the next episode.
Yeah, because who knows what we're going to be talking about. So I as well will be looking forward to it, and I hope you guys will too. Probably going to be released in the next week or so. So keep your eyes on your iPhones or your Androids or whatever it is that you're listening to us through. And if you are not listening through your iPhone or whatever, and you're just listening on the web, be sure to subscribe to us. So just go to coderstartup.com/iTunes, and that will redirect you to the actual iTunes app where you can subscribe to the podcast and maybe even leave a rating and review. If you leave a 5-star rating and review, I will go ahead and make sure that I read it at the top of the next episode. So that'd be cool to get your name out there and drop a few knowledge bombs or two if you want in your review. So fun stuff. So take care of yourselves, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode, and bye for now.